Hello there again. Welcome to another great video game ideas not used video, GVGINU for short. As always, I'm Andre. Yeah, more talk about how violent video games equals violence. So, and Joe Biden said this, Vice President Joe Biden. So, I mean, how fucking dumb are you? Really? There have been numerous studies that already have proven that violent video games don't advocate actual violence among people. So, now he wants to do a study looking into the effects of violent games on teenagers and like young children. So, in my mind, these games aren't meant for children and young teens. So why would you do a study of violent video games on young children and teens? I do remember that there is a rating system for the US and Canada. It's the ESRB. I don't remember what it is for the PAL regions. But, yeah, they review the games and give the appropriate rating to them. So, what point would it make for you to do that when they're not supposed to be playing those games anyway, based on those ratings by agencies that actually give a shit about the video game industry? Oh, that's probably it. It's because they're not necessarily government funded, so we've got to make it impossible for them to give out their ratings on video games and for them to stick so that we can make extra money. That's got to be it. I mean, that's logically the only reason that you would even think to advocate video game violence along with actual real violence that people commit is simply for the fact that you can make more money off of it. I mean, yeah, he said this at a gun control rally, I think. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I've read a few articles about it, and I'm just ticked off. There have been so many studies that prove that wrong. And it's like this, well, it's not what I wanted to be, so fuck it, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go back and try to push that point again, even as stupid as it fucking is. And, I mean, I'm not one to say I know a whole lot about politics. I will say I'm probably one of the most daft people when it comes to politics. More or less because I don't want to deal with all of the lies and the deceit that come of it. But I'm starting to realize I've got to get myself more into understanding the political system better, and I think a lot of us should. And honestly, it's just like we keep seeing this bullshit over stuff that doesn't even fucking matter. Gosh, man, isn't there anything better you can do with your time than try to ruin the video game industry by taxing something specifically, which video games fall under a form of art? And if you don't appreciate a form of art, then you don't have to deal with that form of art. But you have no right to tell the people who create that art that they have to change it in order to suit your needs. You don't. There's nobody that has that right. Like, yes, we can critique it and suggest things about it, but we can never tell the people that create the stuff that they have to do what we say. And that's the truth of it. As much as I'm an advocate for saying, hey, let gamers share their ideas with the people in control of the gaming industry, it's still their choice whether or not they do it. And as much as I would like for them to listen to gamers a bit more, like I said, it's still up to them to do it. And yet there are indie developers who listen closely to all of their fans and take in their suggestions and think about ways to make what their fans want happen without ruining the integrity of what they're creating. And doing this shit taxing violent video games, do you realize how broad a term that fucking is? Super Mario Brothers falls under violent video games. Sonic the Hedgehog falls under violent video games. Final Fantasy falls under violent video games. I could go on. Fuck, Halo, which is a sci-fi space first-person shooter. Yes, it's violent. But at the same time, are you really killing people? No. But either way, it's just like it's a stupid thing to say. It's pointless. Hell, a game where a character trips and falls on a banana because somebody placed it there could be considered a violent video game just for that one instance. It's too broad a spectrum to try to do something that fucking stupid. And in ruining the video game industry, you would completely collapse a huge part of the economy. That I realized without even being in politics, because gaming is so big. Yes, there are still people who don't like video games, and that is on them. They can enjoy a book or a movie or a television show, whatever. It's what they like. But you're not going to tax it. Like, I don't even think you should tax television, movies, none of that shit. Nothing. There should not be an explicit tax just because something has scenes of violence within it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but violence predates the existence of video games. Humans have damn near throughout their whole existence been violent for one reason or the other. And that has nothing to do with video games. And these mass murders, these shootings, these fucked up tangled situations that these people have to go through, and I'm sorry, it pisses me off. Because I literally did a video not that long ago expressing how fucked up I felt for these people. And then we have politicians, whether it's Joe Biden, fucking, I don't give a fuck who does it. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, I don't give a shit. It's dumb as fuck. It is a stupid issue to talk about. We know that violent video games do not make people violent. If anything, most people play violent video games as a stress reliever. And yes, there are some fucked up people in the world. Mentally fucked up. And yes, they play video games. So fucking what? That doesn't mean that, oh, I played Dynasty Warriors and now I'm going to go get knives and swords and shit and run through the streets and cutting people up. Oh, I played Halo Wars, so I'm going to walk out with a semi-automatic rifle and pretend that people are aliens and blast them in the face. Stupidity. That's exactly what it equals. It's stupidity. Ignorance and stupidity. And in my eyes, and I mean there are probably plenty of people who agree with me, but in my eyes, why would you waste the time on trying to do a study to figure out the effects of violent video games on young people when you could be spending that money to help people, to actually do something useful that hasn't already been done before? It's a waste of time, energy, money, and resources. It makes me sad that we live in a world like this. And no matter who you vote for, whether you are Democrat or Republican or somewhere in between, believe this when I say it. Most of the politicians in office have none of your interest in their mind. They're thinking about fattening their fucking wallets. And if you don't believe me, look at the shit that's happened within the last 20 fucking years. Maybe even further back than that, but I'm just referencing something relative to myself. You can't tell me that every politician that is on your side of the fucking wall or wherever the fuck you think they are is looking out for your interests. No, they're scapegoating the fuck out of you so they can get money. Like I said, If you don't believe me, you can always research it. There are plenty of places to look this shit up. I needed to let that breath out because it's just a well of anger over this stupid shit. And yeah, in my mind, I want to go and punch a bunch of fucking politicians in the face. I'm not going to go do it, but I want to. So I guess that makes me a violent person, right? Because they do stupid shit and then blame something that honestly has nothing to do with the problems that exist. And these are the people that we are tricked into thinking that we voted into office. Honestly, the Electoral College is a fucking joke. What's the point of having states determine who's elected by points from the Electoral College when we've seen before that that shit is faulty? And that's not standing from a political, not coming from a political standpoint, from a common sense standpoint. There is no system as far as that the Electoral College, pointless. We've got to vote. So basically, enough citizens vote for one side, then their superdelegate makes their vote based on that. And how do we know that that's necessarily true? I mean, there are plenty of ways to prove it, but I'm just saying, how does the average person actually know that? They don't. But I am tired of this stupid bullshit. Like, you want to waste your time and resources on saying, yeah, we need to tax video games. But like, and then you're going to tax all violent video games to take care of people who have had to deal with tragedy and gun violence. I like the second part of that. But that first part, what's the point of taxing violent video games and violent anything in media that has violence in it? It could be just an example. You could have a drama or love story in a movie and have someone slap the shit out of somebody because they did something that pissed them off. That is an act of violence. Would that not fall under the same jurisdiction? Because there are so many different situations that could fall under that it would be pointless to make a move that fucking stupid. That's my whole point. You can agree, disagree, whatever. I just had to state my feelings on it because it's one of those things that pisses me off. And I want to thank Alpha Omega Sin because if it hadn't been for his video this morning, even though I woke up in a good mood before seeing that shit, I wouldn't have known about this right away. So, thank you for that, Alpha. And I'm going to keep continuing watching your stuff. But, yeah, that's just pointless. It's really fucking pointless. It's stupid. Let's go back and name a bunch of franchises. Just real quick. Like I said, Mario, Sonic, obviously. You're going to have Halo, Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong, The Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, as I said before. What else can I think of? StarCraft. I mean, Resident Evil already shows a lot of violence, so there's no point in me saying that. Come on. I can think of plenty more. I even go back to classic games like Kid Chameleon. Or even, what was it? I think Alex Kidd games would fall under that jurisdiction. Mother, Earthbound. Wow, yeah. There's a lot of games that will fall into violence really quickly because of even just the minor infraction. So, I mean, there's no point even saying that. Like, quite obviously, all of the fighting games that are out there would definitely be taxed. And, yeah. So, you know what that would do to the video game industry, correct? That means higher developer fees, higher publishing fees, gosh, and increased video game prices. Indie developers basically falling out of business if they can't keep up. So yeah, we would be shit out of luck. Basically. And that's just on the bottom line of it. Eventually, from that, people would stop buying video games and piracy would skyrocket. Which would also mean that the video game industry would completely fucking collapse. And after that happens, entertainment industry would follow. I mean, not entertainment, just in general. Movie industry would follow, the music industry would follow right behind that, and then books basically would follow behind that. I mean, it could happen in any order, but I'm just saying, based on just that, if you think about it logically, a lot of shit would collapse in on itself. Because that's how broad that is. So basically, anybody with any sort of freedom media would be erased. News stations, yeah, they would still be around. Anybody that advocates what the government wants at that point would still be able to maintain, because they're getting money from the government. They're being fed basically by the government directly. So just keep that in mind. Really, just keep that in mind. I'm just done with it. It's an issue that shouldn't be brought up anymore. And I will link again to the video that completely and logically explains why that is a dumb fucking move. So, yeah, I'm done with that. There won't be any ads on this video. Like, you probably already realized that because you've watched it and haven't seen one. It's just, I'm pissed. Not even just as a gamer, but just as a person in general, that they will waste time on this stupid shit. Well, obviously, guns even themselves are not the reason violent crimes happen. There are a lot of people who own guns who don't kill a single person. Who don't even shoot a single person. Yes, I don't think it's a good idea to have a bunch of assault grade weapons in an individual person's house. But at the same time, I don't think we can completely take that from them. I'd say put limitations, one, on how many they can possibly have, two, on the amount of ammo that they could have for that grade of a weapon, and three, make sure that they have to do mental evaluations within a certain amount of time, whether it be annually or like every 2 years, maybe every 3 years. But make sure that there are things in place that can help figure out, well, this person's fucking deranged. Maybe we shouldn't let them have guns. Or maybe we shouldn't have guns around them at all. That would be a better step toward that direction. Not taking guns away, not saying, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm for gun. I'm not for the NRA. I mean, at least not the heads of it. I don't care about them because they're money hungry too. But if I'm going to look at this logically, there are better ways to handle it than trying to just across the board fuck everything up for everyone. Because you're always going to get people that are going to stand against you that way. Think it through logically. Break it down to its most basic tier of thought. That is how you solve problems. Not by just spectruming every fucking thing. Look, we're not rainbows. So I'm going to end this here. Thank you for watching the video. I'm sorry that I've been yelling and everything, but I just had to get it out. It had to be released or I'd be bottling it up eventually. So, thank you. Please check out more of my stuff. And I got my kids calling for me, so I'm going to go. And, yep. So, thank you for checking this out. Keeping out for more of my stuff. I'm coming. I'll be right there. I'm just ending what I'm doing really quickly. And I'm just going to say it. Enjoy your game.